Hey guys, it's Zarius here. Today I'd like to talk to you about Fallout. Well, Fallout lore that is. And particularly about Fallout 4's endings. And why I personally think the Institute ending has the most potential to be the good ending for the game, especially if it's a highly intelligent, good, or gray morally sole survivor. Now, let's examine why I think this, because when you think about it, the Institute, despite all the really bad stuff about it, it has a lot of potential, especially since the way things go in the game about given the position you are in and why you can do so much good with that. We have some spoilers for Fallout 4, just so you know, guys. So here we go. During the mid-to-end portion of the main faction quest, the Institute, Sean reveals, your son that is, who's now like 60 years old and he's the director of the Institute. He reveals he is dying of some sort of incurable cancer. And he also reveals to his staff, much to their very, very angry opinions, that you are to be his heir and become the next director. Now, in the Institute, the director has absolute authority over the Institute. There is no one who is allowed to question him or not do what he asks. Even the Synth Protection Bureau, or as they're also called, the SRB, who are very well known for being very, very authoritative when it comes to opinions on synths. They have to listen to the director also, no matter what. And this all plays into my theory about, my reasoning behind why Institute ending is probably the best ending for the game. Because if you're highly intelligent sole survivor as well as a very morally good or gray one, you would realize, one, given the Institute's technological advancement over every other faction in the entire American wasteland, plus, the fact you have absolute power over everything in the Institute, you do a lot of good. This also plays into, since the sole survivor would be highly intelligent, they will realize that synths are not in fact robots or androids. They are actually genetically superior, genetically modified human clones with built-in cybernetic implants in their brains, which is how they interpret code and stuff. Gen-free synths, as you also may know, are resistant to radiation. They don't need to eat or sleep. It's all part of programming that's built into them for this cybernetic implant, which we call the synth, chip, whatever it's called. The sole survivor probably realize this, since gen-free synths are literally immortal. Plus, they also were intelligent enough to also realize FEV when it's given the people who have not been affected by the whole thing that happened in California during the Great War, where a Chinese missile hit this FEV research plant, which actually made it a very bad, very dangerous vaccination in the atmosphere, which actually mutated everyone's DNA partially, except for people in the vaults and the Enclave. This was bad because whenever someone is given FEV, and if they survive, that is, when they turn into a supermutant, it'll be very, very stupid because of the inoculation. So it plays into gen-free synths, you see, because gen-free synths, hence they have DNA from someone who did not have that inoculation. Sean, your son, in the game, that is. That means they can turn into basically perfect supermutants and not have any of the negative traits most supermutants have, because most of the supermutants, besides the ones the Master created in Fallout 1, are very dumb because of inoculation from that research facility, which is called the Glow, I remember now. But, yeah. But I mean, seriously though, the sole survivor, they're morally good, also would probably free the synths, and the SRB would probably have to listen. Also, I very highly doubt the SRB could actually, they know their coursers are very ineffective against the sole survivor, so they wouldn't probably try anything like that to try and make sure the synths aren't freed. They would literally be forced to freedom. A sole survivor would also probably try and use their own intelligence, as well as the scientists at the Institute, figure out a way that makes synths fertile and able to reproduce. He also, and using this, they would probably also, sole survivor would also try to use the technology of the Institute to help the Commonwealth, as well as probably the people of Far Harbor as well. Doing this, because honestly, I must say that the ending for the Institute is the best overall, because the Railroad, despite their idealistic goals, it's just that they're idealistic. And you see, that's bad because they feel they're doing the right thing. Their idealistic goals only apply to synths. They only help synths, which is bad for everyone. So by only helping one group of people, it's bad. You have to help as much people as possible. And the Brotherhood are bad for pretty obvious reasons. Did I already tell you guys there were spoilers? I think I did, right? Yeah. Alright. Brotherhood are bad because they kill anything that isn't human. And they're very ignorant too. They don't realize Gen-free synths aren't robots or abominations. They are basically human from a genetic perspective. They're basically clones of humans, and the Brotherhood see them as abominations. Gen-free synths are nothing like super mutants or Gary from Fallout 3. They're quite intelligent, and they're actually very, very strong and very capable, and would be very helpful. It's not like the same situation as an AI would normally be when they take over, because Gen-free synths are in all such a purpose as humans, just with stronger bodies, more resilient. Not with any major mental differences in terms of consciousness, for instance, and all that stuff. They're basically human, and the Brotherhood fails to recognize that. Plus, the Brotherhood, if they had their way, they would just wipe out... One second. If the Brotherhood had their way, they would just wipe out Good Neighbor, which is very bad, because Good Neighbor is a very interesting place, I think, and it does not deserve extermination, of course. No one does. Well, maybe the Enclave. That's another story, though. But because you see, they also would kill all super mutants, which, yeah, I guess that's a pretty interesting goal. But the fact they also include ghouls, which are not feral, as well as Gen-free synths in that category, is wrong. It's horrible. Why would they do that? It's literally the wrong thing to do. I mean, seriously. Plus, there is a lot of evidence that the Brotherhood are definitely the bad guys, I must say, because, well, there's a lot of evidence, especially thanks to the goddamn Proctor Quinlan, I hate that motherfucker, that a lot of members of the Brotherhood that we see in Fallout 4 are actually from the Outcast. And it was actually Quinlan as well as other members inside, possibly even including Elder Maxon, helped assassinate Sarah Lyons, actually, in order to make the Outcast come back in, which is wrong. The Brotherhood is returning back to their old ways, which is wrong. They should be helping people, like Lyons did. I can't believe they don't understand that. That their founder, I know it's pretty seem weird, but I played Fallout 76, and I have evidence, thanks to a tape halted to the Insane Asylum, and yes, Fallout 76, I know, isn't one of the best Fallouts, but still, I enjoy it. And I think the lore in it is actually pretty decent for the most part. Well, for now anyway. But that tape revealed that Elder Maxon did not want the Brotherhood to shut themselves in. He did not want them to isolate and only recruit from people who were born into it. He specifically told Taggarty not to do that. He's been telling everyone else not to do that, but they didn't listen. They ignored him. Which means the Brotherhood are hypocrites. The biggest hypocrites in the entire Fallout series, for that matter, actually. They lied to everyone. They lied to themselves as well. They say they're just doing the founder's words when it's not. It's not. I believe that's actually a very good story element, I must say. Very good plot element, I must say, for future games, hopefully. But yeah, that is... And then, of course, there's the Minutemen. Let's not forget them, of course. The Minutemen, which are also headed by you along with the Institute, if you complete everything, I guess. like, they're idealistic also, like the railroad, but they're actually trying to help everyone as much as they can, synths, schools, humans, etc. Which, I mean, they do hate super mutants. I know that thinks that they're how they actually came to be, the whole Diamond City thing that happened. But I mean, Sole Survivor being the head of both the Institute and the Minutemen probably would find a way to organize a new government in the Commonwealth. One probably headed by them, and they would probably use their intelligence to try and find a way to transfer their consciousness into a synth body, one they would design personally for themselves. And this would probably make some sort of this would be an interesting faction to see in future games, especially on the East Coast or even the Midwest. Actually, think about it: a faction with an immortal leader who's actually able to move around and stuff, which is very different from Mr. House. Like, I like Mr. House ending in Fallout New Vegas, but this ending it's better because you can't really trust Mr. House, but you can trust yourself, which is what the Institute ending implies in Fallout 4. Well, the Institute is much better technology than Mr. House, most certainly, I must say. I mean, that's a pretty big reason. I mean, think about it. Like, with an immortal leader, one who is literally almost unbeatable, with only probably the courier and only the courier and the chosen one from Fallout 2 can really compete in terms of power levels to Sole Survivor in Fallout 4. I must say, Sole Survivor definitely beats the Vault Dweller and I forget the name of the guy from Fallout 3. The Lone Wanderer. Yeah, the Lone Wanderer. The courier is probably still going to be alive, I guess, but which could lead to some things, I guess. But I imagine future games would probably be in the Midwest or the East Coast, but I hope there would be more in the West Coast also. I'm a big fan of Fallout New Vegas. It's actually my favorite Fallout, I must say. Fallout 4 definitely comes close in second with Fallout New Vegas and third. I've only barely played Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. I've only heard lore from other YouTubers. I like the lore, just the gameplay is not really my kind of thing for those two games. I mean, I like isometric RPGs. I've played Baldur's Gate and I enjoy it. Just Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 style is just way too... Well, it's not really my thing. Because it's turn-based, which sucks. Plus, there's also the fact that it's actually, pretty difficult compared to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which is a big factor, in my opinion, about why I don't like it. I mean, different things to different people. I mean, sorry, different strokes to different people, I guess, but it's just my opinion, alright? But, yeah, because I think it would be interesting to have a faction in later Fallout games to be this new nation coming from the East, that encompassed all of what we now see as Massachusetts, Maine, all of New England essentially, as well as the Capital Wasteland. It would be called the technocracy of New England or something, or maybe the Commonwealth. Actually, no, the technocracy of the Commonwealth would probably be a better name. I actually like that name a lot, yeah. And essentially, they would probably, using Institute's resources and their teleportation technology, they'd probably be the most powerful, probably the most prosperous of any of the post-Great War nations that have come up yet, with only the NCR probably rivaling them. Legion would stand no chance at all. Definitely not. Yeah, I feel like an interesting plot would be it's the Midwest United States, Probably Illinois or something. And Legion coming from the East. And you hear this new nation, Legion from the West. Man, that was a big mistake. The Legions come from the West, and then we hear this new nation of highly advanced coming from the East, has robots in their army, as well as human super soldiers, which are gen-free synths, essentially. As well as technology beyond anything you've ever seen, essentially, in your life in the Wasteland. That would be amazing, I think. I would love to see that in the future Fallout games. And it seems pretty plausible, too. Especially if Soul Survivor is smart, they would realize that's probably the best thing to do. This has been God Emperor Zarius, and I hope you enjoy my videos, and that has been my opinion on, well, what I think is best Fallout 4 ending, as well as possibly future ramifications, and also of that ending if it were to go in future games, and also the fact about Synths basically being superhuman clones, which are mostly human and are not robots or androids. Thank you, and I hope you all have a great day or time or whatever, wherever you are and whenever you are. Thank you.